Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are and whenever you are. Let's get that right screen on the background. Welcome to another community live stream, the one-man show where I try to hold things together both technically and professionally. Let's start with me. I am the ServiceNow guy with the red bow tie. My name is Chuck Tomasi, and I am here to bring you another hour of learning, adventure, fun, technical tips, and anything around the ServiceNow platform that I can share with you out of the community that is right behind me. This is totally unscripted, as you can probably tell from the top of the show, where I go through a number of things in our community. As I mentioned, I have about 10 years of experience on ServiceNow, mainly around custom applications and integrations on the platform. I am going to just verify that my stream is up and running. Looks like it is. We've got a couple people watching, and I have made a couple of tweaks to the system to try and load balance things a little bit better. We'll see how that goes. Anytime you change a variable in the whole setup, anything can happen, and usually does. So welcome and thank you for joining me. We do this show live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. UTC. Figure you people are smart enough to figure out where you are offset from UTC by this point. Excuse me. You can subscribe to the channel that you see there on the banner across the bottom of the screen, and keep informed when new shows are live, when more content comes out. I think for every one of these I do, the rest of the community is putting out 2, 3, or even 4 new videos a day. So there is lots and lots of content to keep up with, and I encourage you to stay subscribed, like this video if you find it helpful. If there's some nugget of information in here that you like, give me a shout out in the chat room. If you want to tell me where you're from, let me know you're out there. I appreciate seeing that. We do this live both here and on Twitch. There are people that watch that there. Thank you very much for that as well. Good morning, Apurva. Hope you had a wonderful day. This is all over the place in terms of global. I've got people from Australia. I've got people from India. I've got people from the UK. I've got people from the US. I've got people who haven't even woke up yet. I think that would include me. I'm not sure I've woke up yet. There are now about, 11 days and a few hours left until Knowledge starts. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. If you do have a question, please refrain from posting it in the chat. I do encourage discussion. I do encourage the Q&A, and want to keep you involved with all of this. And do encourage the shout out and let me know where you're from. How's the weather? What time is it? That kind of thing we can do in the chat. But if you've got a question about ServiceNow, you want to know more about ITOM, you want to know more about performance analytics, you want to know more about the platform, you want to know more about integrations, let's bring that to the community and get more people involved and get the right people involved. Because when you're dealing with me on YouTube, it's just me and the rest of you, and it's not the best audience to voice your question, nor can somebody find their answer later in a video simply by searching. We haven't got that technology yet where you can say, hey, has anybody seen this? Let's use the community as a system of record. That's what it's there for. That's where people are congregating, and that's where they are looking for their answers later so they can find them easily. So please go over there and make sure that you post it in the right community section, aka a forum. So if you've got a question about security, it's in the security space, in the security forum, the subgroup, whatever you want to call it. They are called forums over there. I'm still retraining my brain to get that the new terminology engaged. Go over to community.servicenow.com. We will also be using a free personal developer instance throughout this for experimentation. I have one. Got it over at developer.servicenow.com. There. Whenever you mention a website, you're supposed to ring the bell. You can get a free personal developer instance. The site is going to look something like this. I scroll down a little bit so we don't get nauseated by the carousel of animations. At the top, you can learn. There are free learning paths over there. You can build on your free personal developer instance. There are documented scripting APIs. I will probably reference that once or twice today because I don't remember all of the parameters to all of the classes to all of the functions. It's all over the place. There's a lot to remember. It's like memorizing a phone book. There's a throwback. Nobody uses phone books anymore. At least not that I've seen lately. I think we received one shortly after moving in here, but I haven't seen a phone book in a while. Morning, Steve. Good to see you. Kaja, good afternoon from Luxembourg. See, we've got people all over the place. It's a wonderful thing. Looking forward to seeing a lot of you at Knowledge and CreatorCon. And I keep moving my mouse thinking it's going to move the second screen. But again, I have done some technical adjustments to hopefully improve the latency that we saw yesterday. That was embarrassing and disturbing at the same time. What have we done? We've done the community, we've done developer, we've done YouTube, Twitch, and I think we are ready to go. So let's get rid of the subtitle and let's go into it. I've got my morning cup of herbal tea. Good stuff. Good stuff, ready to go. And let's get into it. I like to start, as always, with the unreplied section. So I'll click there. And well, latency seems to be holding up pretty well. Not too bad. Good, good, good. Work notes are not capturing in report. Well, that's an interesting thing. Service management. Use of secondary credentials. We offer multi-factor authentication. Oh, this is in ITOM. So ITOM's not my specialty. I know a little bit about it. So I'll see what I can do. I like to take a look. Maybe there's a learning opportunity. Let me open just 2 or 3 of these. What is the maximum duration value you can put in the sysautoflush.age field? I've never heard of that field. Let's find out where it is. What is sysautoflush.age? Time zone showing wrong in work notes activities. I have heard of that, especially when you're doing imports. I want to remove attach button from incident table. The way to build a guided tour on user notification setting. Let's take a look at that. We will be doing guided tour designer as our June topic on Tech Now. I believe it's either the 13th or the 14th. I have to verify what the date is on that. Work notes are not capturing in report generated from the table. After querying many of the RITMs showing without work notes. Let's take a look at this image. It's going to download. I really wish we had an inline image editor. It's technically possible. So let's open that up. I have no idea what it's going to open in or what screen. No, I disconnected the other screen, so shouldn't have a problem with that. Work notes is a journal field. That's why. Okay, let's get rid of that little extra thing. The thing you need to understand is work notes is a journal field. It's like a whole other table. It's like an embedded related list almost. The thing to understand is that work notes is not a string field like description. It is what we call a journal field and cannot be reported on as part of the current record. When you enter something in a journal field like comments or work notes, they are stored in a separate table and linked into the view of the current record on the activity via the activity history. And I am going to go over to the doc site, which we have over at docs.servicenow.com, and get information on journal fields. Consider the case where months of work notes have been entered over time. That would make for a messy report. Okay, usage overview. That's my instance. Work notes. Did I not click Kingston? There we go. Work notes. Don't worry, sometimes it takes 2 clicks, one to select the window and one, actually I want journal fields. One to select the window and one to actually make it do something. Copy link address. Docs, journal fields. I'm sure somebody's probably out-typed me on this one because I take long to discuss what I'm going to do and say and do and type and research and link, and that's okay. I want to make sure that you watching the video get some value out of this. Rather than just answering questions, we have a discussion and I explain what's going on in my head. That's part of the value of watching this. You get tips, you get tricks, you get best practices along with all the other stuff. A question, how big of latency is there in the live stream? From the time I say something to the time you see it, it's about 6 to 10 seconds. I haven't measured it exactly. Here, we'll do a trick. I raise my hand, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. About 6 seconds. I just saw it go on the YouTube stream that I'm watching. So I believe and then if you type a question, obviously it'll take a few seconds for you to type it and me to read it. So there is going to be a little bit of turnaround, but it's not terrible. YouTube is about 6 seconds. I think Twitch is about the same. I wasn't watching that window at the same time. That holds up with what I've seen in the past. The issue I had yesterday was I was saying one thing and working on my computer to my right. For example, I would scroll or click, and then it would take a long time to get from that machine to the video machine, and then another 6 seconds out. So what I was saying and what I was doing were out of sync, and that was very messy. Right now, it's about 1 second between the time I say scroll to the time I see it on the active monitor of the video machine. Okay. Well, that was a fun peek behind the scenes of how the sausage is made. Using secondary credentials. When running Discovery on Linux servers, I have a need to run SQL Plus command for gathering Oracle details. I have 2 accounts, an OS level account and an Oracle level account. I'm not able to provide the same level of access to either account. I'm looking for a way to run the OS level Discovery. This gets a little deep into Discovery. I thought I had an answer at one point. I understand what he's asking for, but I don't have an answer for this. I would like to subscribe to that message in case there is an answer so that I can learn as well. What is the maximum duration value you can put into the sysautoflush.age field? The table cleaner function accepts values in a number of seconds. I'll probably need to specify some values in terms of years. What is the maximum number of values you can fit? Interesting question. Let's find out what type of field it is. So sysautoflush.list. We'll go look at the dictionary. Auto flushes. Sounds like a good name for a plumber. Auto flush. Configure. Dictionary. Dictionary. There it is. Let's find out. Age is an integer. Therefore, what type is on an integer on the back end? Pardon me while I turn to my laptop and actually look at a live SQL database. SQL-u root blah blah blah. Show databases. Pick one. We'll pick one that's Kingston-ish. 17, 12, 15, anyone 10. Describe sysautoflush. Age is an int. 11. Doesn't look like it's an unsigned int. So does 11 mean the number of bytes? Must be, yes, because char 32, varchar 100. Int is 11. So if it's got 11 bytes, that's 2 to the 11th. No, 8. 11 bytes, 8 bits, 256, 8 times 11, 2 to the 8 times 11? Does that make sense? Let's see what that is. 2 raised to the 11th is 2048. Let's see. 8 times 11 is obviously 88. 2 to the 88th is a really, really big number. I don't think you're going to have a problem. I'm going to put this in a little unscientifically. And if you sign it, divide the number in half. Okay, from what I can tell, age is an integer field. I checked the MySQL DB and it's stored as int 11, which to me says that it takes 11 bytes. Ugh. There must be an allergy or something because I almost sneezed again. Maybe I'm allergic to the community. That would be a shame. Since each byte is 8 bits, I figured you can hold 2 to the 11 times 2 to the 88th power divided by 2 if you sign that thing. That's a really big number. What was it again? 2 raised to the 88th. 3.094850098 E26. That means raised to the 26th. Let's do to the 87th, because you got to take 1 bit out for the sign bit. 2 to the 87th, 1.5 raised to the 26th. 1.5 times 10 to the 10 raised to the 26th power. Roughly. Let's see, there are 86,400 seconds in a day. One of those random numbers that you just remember. Times 365 times 7 is only 220 million. Since 7 years is roughly 220 million seconds, I don't think you have anything to worry about. Science, people, or basic high school math. Not that one, this one. Still early. Would it be wrong to say I get up at noon UTC? Good morning to those joining us on the live stream. This is the community live stream where I go through a number of things in the community. I have no idea what I'm looking for or looking at sometimes. I just go through and see if I can help people and explain to you what that process is, such as that crazy number system thing we just did. Is an integer field capable of storing 7 years worth of seconds, was the basic question, and I determined yes, quite capable. The way to build a guided tour on user notifications. I'm looking for the best way to build a guided tour to explain user notification setting. I don't know which value to put in the field application page name on the form creating new tour. See attachment. Application page name. Let's take a look at Guided Tour Designer. If you haven't seen Guided Tour Designer before, came out in Jakarta, if I remember right. And it is a way to really cut down on the documentation that you use. You can build online tours. So when you click the help over here, not there, when you click the help over here, it will say, there is a tour here. And there is help on guided tours, but there's also, you could conceivably have a guided tour on guided tours. And if there's a guided tour they haven't taken, they don't need to know to click the question mark. It'll say, hey, this has a guided tour you haven't taken yet. So the application what field did they ask for? I didn't look at the picture yet. Open this up. Oh, they're actually making this step. Ooh, can you do a notification in here? create a new tour application page name. So if we, is that or is that not? Let's go to global. See that again. We create a new tour, create tour. They're asking, enter the page this tour is for. Oh, I know what that's for. I know what that's for. That is for where you want the tour to engage. Let me go back to my instance. Sorry for the flipping around. I got to find the right tab. That is for example, guided tour. It fills in this context. It's where do you want it to kick in. So we can have PA cubes or PA cubes under list. Contract SLA, sysPA list. That is the name of the tour. That is the key that tells GTD where it should be made available. For example, if you want your tour available on the incident form, click type incident. If you want it on the incident list, click incident. How about list? I typed the answer before. It's kind of like letting the punchline of a joke go. List, it's incident under list. Since the notifications is embedded in these, the easy way to determine this is look at whatever is following nav2.do in the URL. Before, yeah. In the system settings pop-up, it doesn't have its own URL. So you cannot trigger it from there. It must be made available from another page, perhaps home page, perhaps nav page. You need to specify where the tour is going to be visible. All right, that's a good question. I should keep that one in mind for the June Tech Now. See what Dave has to say about that. Morning, Jay. Just joined and looked like I walked into some heavy math. Oh, it was just exponents and multiplication. It wasn't too bad. That I can handle. The calculus, all that stuff from college, gone. Because I haven't used it. It's like programming languages. I used to program in Perl every day. It would take me a while to spin back up in Perl, and frankly, I don't want to. I remember reading somewhere a long time ago that an int can only hold 4 bytes. That would be a 32-bit integer. You might be right, Jeff. Depends on the implementation. You know what? Let's go to the official MySQL documentation and see what MySQL has to say about that. An int, storage, 4 bytes. All right. There we go. Well, let's see if we can pull that request back. Let's go back into that request. Thank you, Jeff, for having me recheck that. Let's reply to my own reply, because you can do that. Thanks to the community live stream chat. Can I give you credit, Jeff? Noted that an int can only contain 4 bytes. If it's signed, that means you've got 2 to the 31 bits to work with. And 2 to the 31 was like 2 billion something. Yeah, 2 billion. That's roughly 2 billion, which still leaves you room for 7 years worth of seconds. Done. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. It takes a village. I saw a t-shirt once that said it takes a Viking to raise a village. It's a play on that, if you haven't heard. It takes a village to raise a child. Okay, we've got the way to build... What was I talking about here? The way to build guided tour. That's what we got. It is... Wow. This first half hour goes so fast. Probably because I spend 10 minutes doing the intro. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the live stream. You get not only math, or as the Brits say, maths, which I kind of like because it's mathematics. There are a number of things that I think the Brits are saying right. The Queen's English is right and the American English is wrong. Aluminum and aluminium. Not sure I follow the logic on why we're different on that one. The things in my head. Scheduled job scripts, sometimes executing and sometimes not. That sounds fun. Reusing an approval activity on a workflow. Yes, you can do that. I'm trying to create a dynamic approval workflow that will be used as a subflow in a catalog item workflows. I'm trying to add conditions that would route the workflow back to an approval user activity if a second round of approvals is needed for them. The issue I'm experiencing is that when the workflow routes back to the approval activity, make sure the audio is working here in the middle of a sentence, to send out the second round of approvals needed, it erases the approvals and the items from the previous rounds. Only the current round of approvals exists in the item. I've tried having the approval. I've seen this as well. It's one of the things about activities. If there's already an activity there, or if there's already an approval record, when you get to the approval, for the same approval, it's going to wipe them out or set them back to requested. It's not, you can't keep adding on and saying it was rejected, it was rejected, it was rejected. Now it's approved. You have this track record of what's been going on. The best I can suggest there is to put, as things are approved or rejected, you put them in the activity history of that record. Looking into a bit, it seems like the out-of-box workflow item designer approvals does the very same thing, but it doesn't erase the previous approval records when executing, which is what I'm trying to achieve, but can't seem to figure out why this one behaves differently than what I'm creating. Has anyone worked around this issue or have any idea how I can reuse the approval activity without it removing previous approvals? I ran into this years ago, but things may have changed. The way I dealt with it back then was to log the approval rejection into the parent record activity history as comments or work notes. So there was a history of what was approved, rejected, or whatever later. Not elegant, but it worked. That text box seems a little oversized for my current font size. Schedule jobs, sometimes working, sometimes not. These tend to get a lot of activity, so I'm going to refresh real quick just to make sure that somebody else hasn't already typed in an answer. And that is a long schedule job script. That's going to take a while for me to digest. Let's take a quick look. Curse this indentation. Handy little trick if you are posting something into the community, use the little curly braces with the semicolon in front of it, and you can paste that in and it will format for you. Hello experts, we have written a scheduled job script in which we are calling a schedule which executes on weekdays. The actual purpose of doing this is populating field in our incident form through the logic implemented in this script. So add an encoded query. Number starts with this specific incident. GR query. You don't necessarily need an encoded query here. You could just do an add query number. Well, yeah, and starts with. There's 3 arguments that add query will take, like this: state not equal 6. There's 3 parameters. You could do that. I like encoded queries sometimes. They're easy to read, especially when you get into ands and or logic. So they're taking the duration calculator. I'm assuming they're finding when this is happening, if time is less than a day and priority equals 1. There's a lot of stuff commented out. Autosys fields are not getting updated. This is going to be too long. I don't want to take 20 minutes of this showtime trying to digest and parse this apart. I apologize. Just a wee bit on the complex side for this show. If I get time, I may take a look at it later. I want to remove the attach button from the incident table. Let's scroll down a little bit. I think we missed something earlier. Hi everyone, I have a custom network field on the outage table, which is of type choice. Swagger spec for web service. What is the use of page status field in the content management system page field? Use of page status. I haven't looked at CMS in a long time. And in lieu of Service Portal, I've kind of turned my back on it. It's still a supported product. I just don't dabble in it anymore. Latino is going to Knowledge 18. You know what? Let's dig into the Knowledge Conference. I haven't looked there. I want to see if there's any interesting threads in there that we may have missed. There is a forum for Knowledge Conference. And if you are going, take a look in here every once in a while. Meet our experts at Knowledge 18 Table Talks. We will be doing a table talk for people that are doing custom applications. So these are lunch table talks where we get together in the big lunch hall and you go and find a table around a specific area of interest. You don't have to sit at one of these tables. They're not all dedicated for these table talks, but if you want to have a centralized conversation, you can do that. I probably will not be available for any of them because I will be doing Tech Now Live in the Developer Theater. And while we're on that topic, we should probably mention that Knowledge is coming up May 7th through 10th, a scant 12 or 11 or whatever it is, a few days away, plus change. If you're going to pre-con training, then it starts on Sunday. So hopefully we'll see you checking into the hotel on Saturday. It is at the Venetian in Las Vegas, right next door to the Palazzo. So if you're in the Venetian or the Palazzo, you are right on premise. You don't have to go outside. You don't have to go anywhere. I've done this before where I stayed at the Venetian and the conference was in the Palazzo, which was reverse. I think this was about 2012 or 13. One of the, anyway, not going down that rabbit hole right now. Knowledge is the place to get your information, your knowledge about ServiceNow. Aptly named, of course. If you are a developer, an admin, an architect, either enterprise architect or technical architect, I really, really encourage you to check the checkbox on your registration that says CreatorCon. And that will get you entitled to the additional free content for those roles, developer, admin, architect, that gets a little deeper into the subjects. Things on IoT, things on REST APIs, things on building script includes and service portal widgets and flow designer actions. A lot of good technical information in there that you don't want to miss out on. Just check that checkbox and you will be able to sign up for that on your content builder. See that menu up at the top? Oh, it's not there. It's not on this particular page. This must have been a long time ago page. So when we were still pre-registration apparently. But there is a content builder. If you go to either the community YouTube page or the developer portal, which is over here, or excuse me, the developer program channel on YouTube, ServiceNow Dev Program, there are videos of me and Lily Lee explaining what it is and how you can get all this wonderful information. So I definitely encourage you to go take a look. It's not too late to register. It's not too late to sign up and go. I know the hotel rooms are filling up. And if you have signed up, please go to the Knowledge site and click on the content, the catalog to get your sessions. They are filling up fast. It's amazing. I was scrolling through those yesterday and a lot of them say full, 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 full. Wow, that's crazy. Which is actually good because we are now sticking in repeats. And what's funny is you could actually have our repeat session on Tuesday and then the original on Wednesday, but that's neither here nor there. We are slotting in repeats to fill up those popular sessions, and be sure to check back at least daily if your session was full and you think there might be a chance of a repeat. Go back and check. That is all I'm going to say about that. Now let's continue to look through here. Meet our experts at the Table Talks. We talked about Table Talks. Register for the Vegas experience, pre-conference, of course, along with all of the education. There's wonderful networking opportunities. Bring business cards. And do what I do. When somebody hands you a business card, as soon as they're not looking, write down where you met them and some of the things you talked about. Because you're going to get home weeks later and look at that business card, and it's not going to make any sense. You're going to go, who was Dave? I remember a Dave. But when you get back, you can then follow up a week later, a month later, whatever it was. Hey, Dave, great meeting you at lunch on Tuesday at Knowledge. Loved the discussion we had about ITOM. Look forward to talking to you again in the future. Please stay in touch. Or I'll be in touch. Or something of that nature. And you start building your network, which is very important these days because nobody cares about your career more than you. And this is one of the ways you can keep your career alive. Yes, you get career tips on Community Livestream. I think I told the story about somebody called me about 5 years later, and I pulled that out, and it was on my memo for their contact card, and they were blown away by what I remembered. I didn't remember anything. I just read what was on my contact information in the phone because I was smart at Knowledge 10 and wrote that down. Knowledge 10 was 8 years ago today. I had pictures coming up on Facebook of what I was doing. I believe this was part of the pre-con training because I was not in pre-con training. I was scrambling around Torrey Pines in San Diego with a good friend of mine who lives out there. So that would indicate that it was a Sunday, April 25th. Check your calendars. See if I'm right. It was April 25th, 2010, a Sunday. Somebody's going to let me know. Okay. Latinos, we just saw that. Where are the vendor events? Vendor events usually get invited to, but if you walk around the expo hall, particularly Monday night, start asking. Ask some of the bigger ones, Accenture, KPMG, Fruition, and say, do you have any events happening? They will. They will. Usually Tuesday night is when the vendors have that stuff. Hey, I'm not playing Rain Man here. I'm just using deductive reasoning on how I knew that it was a Sunday. Knowledge 10 was also a life-changing event for me in a number of ways. So be sure to bring those cards. Build your network. You don't know what the future holds for you, and you want to be prepared. This is one great way to be prepared. I don't want to take the next 15 minutes telling my story of what happened there, but it was a good thing in the long run. I wouldn't be here where I am in this house in Phoenix if it weren't for some of the things that transpired triggered by Knowledge 10. Okay, so be ready. SysID for non-admin users. What is that doing in Knowledge Conference? This is curious. It's got 7 replies, but I want to see what that's doing. This is how the community works. I just troll around. Hi, experts. I'm new to ServiceNow and using Kingston. Firstly, I want to know how SysID gets generated in ServiceNow. Is it through UI actions or business rule? Please advise. My second question is, how to get the SysID for non-admin users? I want SysID details in my asset ID. How can I get these? The SysID, as far as I know, is generated automatically server-side, and nothing you have to trigger or can control/prevent. Good answer, Steve. This is one of our viewers right now. Why do you, as a non-admin user, need the SysID? I don't see the point it is as a non-admin user. Is that what he asked? How to get the SysID for admin. Oh, okay. If you're in the form and you want to copy the SysID, for example, to go to a specific record, I usually copy the URL and cheat if I don't have access to that. And I can't, as an admin, even publish the SysID without going outside the box. Yes, I can publish it, but it takes a bit of fiddling. There is a reply. I should have hit show all replies. We need the SysID for asset user to tag with a unique SysID in consumable forms to maintain certain processes. Can you please advise? I'm not following the process. But what I can do, yeah, somebody took my trick. It's in the URL. Please do not customize this. It's completely unnecessary. And I want it for asset user, not admin. You can navigate to this user has role and filter on the role. Da, 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 da. That's not getting me anywhere. When I encounter a system where I don't have admin access, I usually use the form menu to say copy URL, then get the sysid out of that. For example, don't know what really led me to this. Let's take this particular one and do form copy sysid. Yes, I know I have admin rights here. I could probably log into a system where I don't. That felt like it snapped a little too quickly. Sometimes it does that. Paste. Okay. Then I get a URL like this. Oops. I didn't actually copy anything. That was funny. Took a picture, but I didn't do it. Copied to clipboard. Then we can do that. I'm going to take my instance name out of there just for the fun of it. Your instance. Build that. And then I copy and paste the sysid where I need it. We could be all on the wrong thread. I don't know. Sometimes the question is way different than the answer ever, or the thread ever leads us to. Let's see if there's any in the inbox as we start to wrap this up. Yes, we do. Stop removal deletion of attachments in custom table. This is a very old thread, 6 months ago. Someone has a custom table, and I'm waiting. Hello, Chuck Tomasi. I'm not able to attach the attachment from RE email to my custom table. Do you have any idea why this is happening? In sys email table, I got this error. Field error watermark target table U table name does not match any inbound action table setting to ignored state. Watermarks target table does not match any inbound action table. Yeah, that is a huge font, first of all, Kamar. Thank you for the large type. Very easy to read, especially on the live stream. Check your inbound actions and make sure you have at least one that is reacting to or is trying to populate your U custom table, whatever it is. Was that the right U table name? U table name. Table. All right. A lot of older threads on here. A couple of things that I did want to look at. Let me go into Google Drive, pull up my links for today. I should have done this before the show. That way you don't get to see all the embarrassing stuff from my Google Drive. And to pull that up, a couple of links I wanted to follow up on from previous discussions. First of all, let's fix the title. There, had an uppercase. Thread number 1, get related list of row count. This is something I wanted to show. We were talking about this the last couple of days. They had a related list that had something like 32 records in there, and they wanted to populate that into a field using a calculated field that would do this glad aggregate lookup. And he said, well, but when I try to query on it, it's not queryable because it's not populated. Let me show you an example. I'm going to go into that's the docs. I'm going to go into this, and I think I have a table that I recently created that I can destroy or pick on. The global scope, in fact, that's good. System definition tables. It was something like U_timer. There it is. So let's take the U underscore timer field, and I have some records in there. I think there's only one or two. Let's put a couple more. U timer.list. Okay, and it's, oh darn, there's no records. Oh, there was something else. Was it tag? There was a different table. Let's go back to tables. Oh, table timer, tables, name is not empty. Brewery, beer, target response, lookup, action, incident, people. That's the one. New people. Very simple table. Just has active and name. And I am going to show the list of records. And I should have Steve, Dave, Chuck, Mark. Okay. If I add a new field by saying configure table, and that field happens to have a calculated value, let's say, you know what? This is where I got to look at the docs. Calculated field values, because I never remember without an example. Using function fields, no. Comparing field values. Setting a duration, translating, modifying, security, simple, specify a default field value. No. Well, that should have been easier to find than it was. Curses. First, let's create the field, one step at a time. Okay, and I will call this calculated value. Here, we'll just call it calculated, save some time. And it can be a string. This is what it defaults to. I don't need a number or anything. But for sake of argument, should we put an integer in there? If we put an integer, what would we put? I could base it off of the time. I could get the number of seconds for right now. Let's just make it a calculated string. Save that. And go to the dictionary, configure dictionary. So I created a field after the table was created, after I had those first 4 records in there, and I look at my calculated field. And I'm going to go to advanced view because that's where it will allow me to do a calculated value. Default value, no, calculated value. Calculated, and it says add your code here, return the calculated value. And I can use current as the current value, and we will say return, let's just put a couple of asterisks in front of current.u under name. Plus a space plus current.u active. Okay, so it's probably going to say mark space true. We'll change this to an equals. Okay, just for debugging purposes, we are going to calculate a value. Watch what happens. I put this calculated value in here, and when I look at the list of people, I need to add the calculated value to the layout. So personalized list columns, add the calculated value to the list, and I get a value. When I go into the Steve record, it shows calculated is true. However, oops, let's go to scripts background. Should be in my shortcuts. And I query var p equals new glide record u people p.query. Let's get all the records. Well, p next. Then this is where an editor would be really nice. gs.info p.getValue u calculated. What is the value? Run the script. Ooh, interesting. So there is something in there? I expected that to come out blank. That's intriguing. That's intriguing. I did not expect to see that. I expected to see a big old blank because it wouldn't have been calculated if the field was just created. So were those records updated? Maybe this is an old bug that's been fixed. I don't know. I'm in uncharted territories now. Let's go back to the people table. We see the calculated values in the list. And obviously I can't modify those. I believe this is a read-only field. Yeah, security prevents this. It says, hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that. It's a calculated value. Interesting. What I want to do at this point is go into the database, but I can't do that from here. I would have to do that somewhere else. And take a look at what's actually stored in those fields. That's intriguing. Okay, I am going to follow up on that. Very good discussion. So I'm not seeing what I expected, which is always a good learning opportunity. That's the way we learn and grow. When scientists learn things, they don't go, Eureka! They go, that's odd. Okay. Discussion that came up yesterday, again, a very old thread. I think this was a couple of years ago. 9 months, 10 months. And somebody was saying, I've got this script, and I'm trying to do a switch statement on this. Country equals current.requested_country. I thought that was an underscore, but that's okay. What this means, and they're saying it's not working, and I will explain to you. I don't think I have my text editor up here right now, but I want to, because I do want to do this in a text editor. Indentation is going to be important. If I take a value from a field, it is not a string. It may look like a string, it may act like a string. Look, there's our SQL query from the other day. But it is not a string, and that's the important thing to remember, that fields are objects. Let's take an example again. We'll take our, do I still have it? I don't still have it. Var p equals new glide record you people. Okay. And if I say p dot query, we'll just get whatever the next record is, p dot next, and say gs.info type of p.uname. First we'll print out the name, and then we'll print the type of. So name equals, so we know which record it is, p.uname plus type equals there. Take that, get a record. Let's do this in scripts background again. My favorites, scripts background. Paste, and it will say something like Craig. It says Steve is an object. So this is actually an object. The script editor, or the script execution part, is smart enough to go, what type is this? It goes, oh, it's an object. Okay, do you have a getValue, getDisplayName, get some method that it's looking for by default so that I can use this dotted notation? Really, and this is where I get back to my good old getValue, I should be doing getValue name. Even though it's functionally identical, it will work the same, you will get the same result, but you will not get the same thing here. Let's put that in here. Value, uname. There's another reason I really like getValue, and it's not just for de-objectifying, if that's a word, these things. Now it's a string. So it still looks like Steve, but it's a string. Big difference there, because when you get to things like switch, let's put that into a variable. Var name equals p dot name. Okay. If you say switch dot name, switch doesn't work on objects because you're going to try doing things like case Steve and put in something here. Okay, we'll just, for argument's sake, case Craig and put in a different case here. Default. Okay, nobody was home. I know you don't need a break on a default because it's last, all that good stuff. But my switch statement won't work because it's trying to use an object. Whatever this type is going to be the same. If you use getValue, it now becomes a string and the switch will work. Okay. Some people have not gotten familiar with getValue or the interesting way it works, and they will do name.toString. That's one way to do the same thing. Only I look at that as a hack, a workaround, a lazy man's way of doing this. It's not proper structure unless you have a reference field. Maybe name is a reference field and you are dot walking to this because you can't do a getValue here. It doesn't quite work that way. I've tried. Maybe something's changed. Maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's time to try it again. I don't have a reference field on this table to demonstrate that. Some people have done another approach, and that is to do plus empty quotes. It does the same thing. It says, whoa, this is a string, so therefore I must make this a string, therefore that's going to be a string. That's another way to do it. I don't like this. Again, it's not good programming technique, personally. You will see this in some out-of-box examples, really old out-of-box examples, because I don't think even the earlier developers were up to speed on best practices, or maybe they didn't have getValue implemented everywhere they go. Lost a few hours on objects versus string problems. Yes, I have as well. So the proper way to do this would be getValue. The other reason I like getValue is consider an example like this. Okay, var field list equals name. Actually, it should have been u underscore name. Location, active. Let's put some fields in there, just whatever it is. And now you say for var I equals 0, I less than field list dot length. And you want to do, say, a set value, or you want to get those specific fields. Maybe there's 100 fields in here, and these are the 3 you're really interested in to send out your REST API, or whatever. You can make up your own scenario why I would only need a few of the fields that are in this entire table. Okay, and assuming we have a glide record, read something here. Okay, make up your imagination. I'm not going to type out the whole glide record thing because we're running a little short on time. But at this point, you can now say var f equals gr.getValue field list sub I. It's a variable. Instead of hard coding a string in there to say getValue name, getValue location, getValue, I can loop through these things and go, you know what? You want another field? Great. Go for it. Calculated. Let's go get that calculated value as well. It's automatically added to whatever this API is. I don't need to write another statement in here to go get those 4, 5, 10 fields in whatever random order. You are in control, and this is where getValue comes in handy as a parametric way to get those field values. So whenever you're doing that dotted notation, if you've got more than one dot in that expression, fine, use toString. If you only have one dot in that notation, especially if you're using Service Portal, here's where the kicker, if you are starting to write Service Portal widgets, you must, and you're populating that data object, you must either use getDisplayValue or getValue. Some way you need to get that literal, what do they call it? Native data type, simple data type, integer string, decimal, Boolean, that kind of thing. You want to get that value into your data. Otherwise, it's going to say, hey, p.name is an object. I'm perfectly happy taking an object. But then when you try and render it in HTML in your Service Portal widget, it doesn't render an object. It just goes, no. You get nothing. And you'll scratch your head going, I'm populating it. It's there. But if you go into the console and say, the JavaScript console, say, what is the data object really doing right now? It will say, it's an object. You go, oh, I can't print objects. Not through Service Portal. That's a whole AngularJS thing. It's not even a ServiceNow thing. So, all right. Thanks, Steve. Since you are leaving, it must be time for me to leave. I look at the clock. It is the top of the hour. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I encourage you to check out the Knowledge Forum. Go to Knowledge. Check the CreatorCon box. And if you learned something here, mark the video helpful. You like it. like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you back here again tomorrow on Thursday for another session of the community live stream. And we're going to talk about whatever comes up. Thanks again. If you learned something, share it and be helpful. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.